Zero-day attacks are a significant concern for Chief Information Security Officers, CISOs, and their organizations. A zero-day attack refers to a cyber attack that exploits a vulnerability in software, hardware, or firmware before the vendor or developer has had a chance to release a patch or fix for it. Here are some of the key reasons why CISOs worry about zero-day attacks. 1. Limited defense. Zero-day vulnerabilities are, by definition, unknown to the security community, which means there are no specific defenses or patches available to protect against them. This makes it extremely challenging to defend against such attacks. 2. Rapid exploitation. Cybercriminals are quick to exploit zero-day vulnerabilities once they discover them because there is no defense in place. This can lead to significant damage and data breaches before organizations even become aware of the vulnerability. 3. High impact. Zero-day attacks can have a high impact on an organization's operations, reputation, and finances. They can result in data breaches, loss of sensitive information, financial losses, and legal consequences. 4. Targeted attacks. Zero-day vulnerabilities are often used in highly targeted attacks. Cybercriminals and state-sponsored actors may use these vulnerabilities to gain access to specific organizations or individuals, making the attacks harder to detect and defend against. 5. The cost of remediation. Discovering and mitigating a zero-day vulnerability can be expensive and time-consuming. Organizations may need to invest in specialized security research and threat intelligence capabilities to identify and respond to these threats effectively. 6. Third-party risks. Many organizations rely on third-party software and services, and a zero-day vulnerability in a third-party component can also pose a risk. CISOs need to manage and assess these risks in addition to their internal systems. To address the worry of zero-day attacks, CISOs should consider the strategies which we are going to discuss in upcoming slides. However, stay till the end of this video to get valuable insights of zero-day scenario and case study. Zero-day attacks are a persistent threat in the ever-evolving landscape of cybersecurity. CISOs must remain vigilant, stay informed about emerging threats, and adapt their security strategies to mitigate these risks effectively. Subscribe now to get such valuable information after doing research for you. Zero-day attacks. As per the hackersnews.com, Chinese hacking group exploits Barracuda zero-day to target government, military, and telecom. As per the Hackers News, a suspected Chinese Nexus hacking group exploited a recently disclosed zero-day flaw in Barracuda Network's email security gateway (ESG) appliances to breach government, military, defense and aerospace, high-tech industry, and telecom sectors as part of a global espionage campaign. Mandiant, which is tracking the activity under the name UNC 4841, described the threat actor as highly responsive to defensive efforts and capable of actively tweaking their modus operandi to maintain persistent access to targets. UNC 4841 deployed new and novel malware designed to maintain presence at a small subset of high-priority targets that had compromised either before the patch was released or shortly following Barracuda's remediation guidance, the Google-owned threat intelligence firm said in a new technical report published today. Almost a third of the identified affected organizations are government agencies. Interestingly enough, some of the earliest compromises appear to have taken place on a small number of devices geolocated to mainland China. The attacks entail the exploitation of CVE 2023-2868 to deploy malware and conduct post-exploitation activities. In select cases, the intrusions have led to the deployment of additional malware, such as Submarine, aka DEPTHRG, to maintain persistence in response to remediation endeavors. We will go in details of what is the zero-day and how to prevent in this video. Stay till the end to get valuable information about how hackers do the zero-day campaign so that you can prevent your network and assets proactively or reduce the impact. CVE 2023-38035 Detail. Description: a security vulnerability in MICS admin portal in Ivanti Mobile Iron Sentry versions 9.18.0 and below, which may allow an attacker to bypass authentication controls on the administrative interface due to an insufficiently restrictive Apache HTTPD configuration. A zero-day refers to a software vulnerability or security flaw that is exploited by cybercriminals before the software vendor or developer becomes aware of it. These attacks are called zero-day attacks because they occur on the same day that the vulnerability is discovered or 0 days after the vendor has had a chance to patch or fix the flaw. Zero-day attacks can be extremely dangerous because there is no available patch or solution to defend against them at the time of their discovery. Here are some steps you can take to help prevent zero-day attacks. 1. Keep software up to date. Regularly update all operating systems, software applications, and plugins to the latest versions. Software vendors often release patches and updates to fix known vulnerabilities, reducing the risk of exploitation. 2. Employ intrusion detection and prevention systems, IDPS. Use intrusion detection and prevention systems to monitor network traffic for unusual or suspicious activity. These systems can help identify and block potential zero-day attacks. 3. Implement network segmentation. Segment your network into isolated zones with strict access controls. This limits the lateral movement of attackers within your network if they do manage to breach one segment. 4. Application whitelisting. Use application whitelisting to allow only authorized software to run on your systems. This can prevent the execution of malicious code from unknown sources. 5. Educate and train employees. Train your employees to recognize phishing emails, suspicious attachments, and links. Many zero-day attacks start with social engineering tactics to trick users into clicking on malicious links or downloading infected files. 6. Deploy advanced threat protection solutions. Invest in advanced threat protection solutions that use behavior-based analysis and heuristics to detect and prevent previously unknown threats. 7. Monitor for anomalies. Continuously monitor your network for unusual behavior and anomalies that may indicate a zero-day attack in progress. This can include network traffic patterns, system log files, and other security event data. 8. Engage with threat intelligence. Stay informed about the latest threats and vulnerabilities by subscribing to threat intelligence services. These services provide information about emerging threats, including zero-day vulnerabilities, which can help you proactively defend against them. 9. Implement strong access controls. Enforce strong access controls and least privilege principles to limit user and administrator access to only what is necessary for their roles. 10. Backup and disaster recovery. Regularly back up critical data and systems. In the event of a successful zero-day attack, having reliable backups can help you restore your systems to a known good state. It's important to note that while these measures can help reduce the risk of zero-day attacks, they cannot guarantee complete protection. Zero-day attacks are inherently challenging because they target unknown vulnerabilities. Therefore, a multi-layered security approach, proactive monitoring, and a strong incident response plan are crucial for managing the risks associated with zero-day vulnerabilities. Just to check, how is your experience after subscribing to this channel, and are you getting notification on regular basis? We strongly believe you will get 10x value than your expectation in the field of cybersecurity and information security. Subscribe now to get our next value-filled video. A zero-day vulnerability is typically used by cyber attackers to exploit a software flaw before the vendor has had a chance to release a patch or fix for it. Here's a sample use case to illustrate how a zero-day attack might occur. Scenario: a zero-day exploit in a web browser. 1. Discovery of vulnerability. A security researcher, hacker, or cybercriminal discovers a previously unknown vulnerability in a widely used web browser, such as Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, or Mozilla Firefox. This vulnerability could be related to how the browser processes certain types of web content. 2. Development of exploit. The attacker then creates an exploit for this vulnerability. An exploit is a piece of code or software that takes advantage of the vulnerability to gain unauthorized access or control over a system. In this case, the exploit is designed to compromise the web browser. 3. Testing and refinement. The attacker may test the exploit in a controlled environment to ensure it works as intended and can bypass security mechanisms like antivirus software and intrusion detection systems. For the zero-day attack campaign, with the working exploit in hand, the attacker launches a zero-day attack campaign. This campaign may involve sending phishing emails with malicious links or attachments, compromising legitimate websites, or using other means to deliver the exploit to target systems. 5. Successful exploitation. When a user clicks on the malicious link or visits a compromised website using the vulnerable web browser, the zero-day exploit is triggered. It takes advantage of the browser vulnerability to execute malicious code on the victim's computer. 6. Payload delivery. The malicious code may deliver a payload, which could include malware such as ransomware, spyware, or a remote access Trojan, RAT. The payload's purpose may vary, but it often involves stealing sensitive data, gaining control of the victim's system, or launching further attacks within the victim's network. 7. Data exfiltration or control. Depending on the attacker's goals, they may exfiltrate valuable data, compromise the victim's system, or establish a persistent presence within the network for future exploitation. 8. Incident detection. At some point, the victim or their organization may become aware of the breach, either through internal monitoring, unusual system behavior, or security alerts from endpoint protection systems. 9. Response and mitigation. Once the breach is detected, the organization initiates an incident response plan to contain the attack, remove the attacker's presence, and assess the damage. In the case of a zero-day attack, it can be challenging to respond effectively because there is no official patch available. 10. Vendor notification and patch development. Simultaneously, the organization responsible for the vulnerable web browser is alerted to the zero-day vulnerability by the security community or the victim organization. The vendor starts working on developing a patch or security update to address the issue. 11. Patch deployment. When the vendor releases a patch or update to fix the vulnerability, organizations and individuals are encouraged to apply the patch to their systems as quickly as possible to protect against future attacks exploiting the same flaw. Zero-day attacks can have serious consequences, and they highlight the importance of proactive security measures, timely patching, and robust incident response plans to minimize damage and recovery time in the face of rapidly evolving threats. Hit like to this video and share with your LinkedIn profile. They may be someone who may be looking to prevent from zero-day attacks. Zero-day exploits are typically associated with covert and malicious activities, and detailed case studies on real-life incidents are often limited in the public domain due to their sensitive nature. However, here's a notable real-life zero-day exploit case study. Case study: Stuxnet worm, 2010. Background: Stuxnet is one of the most famous and sophisticated pieces of malware ever discovered. It's a worm that specifically targeted supervisory control and data acquisition (SCADA) systems, which are used to control and monitor industrial processes, including those in nuclear facilities. Stuxnet was designed to manipulate Siemens programmable logic controllers (PLCs) and was first identified in June 2010. Zero-day exploits involved. Stuxnet leveraged multiple zero-day vulnerabilities to carry out its mission. These vulnerabilities were unknown at the time, making it a classic example of a zero-day attack. 1. LNK file vulnerability. Stuxnet initially spread through infected USB drives. It used a zero-day vulnerability in Windows handling of shortcut LNK files to execute malicious code when a user merely viewed the contents of the infected USB drive. This allowed the worm to propagate rapidly. 2. Siemens PLC vulnerabilities. Stuxnet contained a zero-day exploit for 4 separate vulnerabilities in Siemens PLCs. These vulnerabilities allowed Stuxnet to manipulate the PLC's operations, such as changing the speed of centrifuges used in uranium enrichment processes. Attack objective. Stuxnet's primary objective was to disrupt Iran's nuclear program, particularly at the Natanz uranium enrichment facility. By causing physical damage to the centrifuges used in uranium enrichment, Stuxnet aimed to slow down or cripple Iran's nuclear ambitions. Key characteristics. Stuxnet was highly sophisticated, using a combination of zero-day exploits and sophisticated code. It employed a digital certificate stolen from a reputable Taiwanese hardware company, making it appear as a legitimate software update. It had the ability to propagate through both the internet and USB drives, making it difficult to contain. The malware had a specific target, SCADA systems in Iran, indicating it was likely a state-sponsored attack. Aftermath. Stuxnet was discovered in 2010, and its origins were widely attributed to a joint effort by the United States and Israel. It caused significant damage to Iran's nuclear program and raised awareness of the potential impact of cyber attacks on critical infrastructure. The Stuxnet case underscores the sophistication and potential consequences of zero-day attacks, especially when they target critical infrastructure and are backed by well-resourced actors. It also highlights the need for international discussions and agreements on cyber warfare and the responsible use of cyber capabilities.